Huh? Respected creationists. Say what? You see, in common language the word theory is associated with opinion or speculation. And it really doesn't matter that evolution is a scientific theory, and in science the word theory has a very different meaning. It refers to a well-substantiated explanation supported by facts gathered over time. Facts that have been repeatedly confirmed through observation and experiment. But if you are a good creationist, this should not concern you, since your target are the simple-minded. If something doesn't seem to have an explanation, it means God did it. For instance, you can easily apply this when you talk about how life started on Earth. Since the scientists don't have enough evidence yet to support the generally accepted hypothesis regarding the origin of life, you must assume it is the work of God. For instance, now we know that the lightning is an atmospheric discharge of electricity that has nothing to do with anything supernatural. But back in the days when people did not have an explanation for it, they naturally assumed the deities were responsible. In Greek, Zeus was long feared for his lightning strikes. For the Romans was Jupiter, for the Egyptians was Seth, and so on. So remember, if something doesn't have a well-accepted explanation yet, God done did it, always. If something appears to be designed, you can safely assume there is a designer.
If something appears to be designed, you can safely assume there is a designer.
If we look at a snowflake, our human brain will probably perceive it as being designed. Observing it under a microscope, we can even see it as beautiful. Every snowflake is unique, there cannot be two of them alike, and the individual ice crystals often have a hexagonal symmetry.
If something appears to be designed, you can safely assume there is a designer.
Because you'll have to prove that the Bible is a scientific book. That God cannot be proven by science, because science studies phenomena that happens in this universe, while God is somewhere outside the universe.
There are 3 steps you take in establishing the existence of God. Now, the person has to listen very carefully, because I take them through the 3 stages. Step number 1 is this, Jim. However you section physical reality, you take the physical universe as you see it. however you slice it down to its minutest form, the fact of the matter is you end up with a physical entity or quantity that does not have the reason for its existence in itself. Ultimately, the physical universe reduced in any form cannot explain its own origin. It has to find its explanation outside of itself, which means the first explanation of a universe as we see it has to have something that is non-physical as a first cause. So you've got a kind of a haunted universe without knowing what the first cause is. Next you come to the argument for what we call not from design, but to design. And that's what I said. If you walk onto a planet and see a wrapper of a McDonald's hamburger and see letters of an alphabet, you immediately know that there is information there. And logic tells you, Jim, as it tells everybody listening, where you see information, you assume that prior to that information is a mind. You don't just think that Handel's Hallelujah Chorus came together, or that the dictionary developed because of an explosion in a printing press. There is sequence to the whole thing. And if you take, Jim, just the composition of the enzyme in the human component, the enzyme, which is the building block of the gene, and the gene the building block of the cell, the possibility of the human enzyme coming together by random, says Vikram Singhi, professor of applied mathematics at Cardiff in Wales, the possibility of that happening by chance is 1 in 10 to the power of 40,000. That's more than the number of atoms in this universe.
That's amazing.
It is time-wise and mathematically, the possibility is 0. So I say to you, number one, the physical quantity cannot explain itself. Number two, there's intelligibility, which assumes a prior mind. In the first case, there is something non-physical. Second case, there is something intellectual or a mind. And third, in the history of society, human experience, and history itself, you begin to realize that the moral issues, the social issues, and just human intercourse demands the explanation of a moral reality. So you've got a first cause that is spiritual, a first cause that is mind, a first cause that needs to explain morality. You take these three struggles, Jim, and pause with me for a moment here. There are 4 fundamental questions in life: origin, meaning, morality, and destiny. You take these 4 questions and these 3 explanations needed, and only God is big enough to explain this universe.
That science can account for everything, it alone is also adequate. But taken together, the fact that science is omnipotent, and the fact that I can understand why people like you desperately want to believe in God, that is an argument against the existence of
but
God.
2 fallacious arguments put together don't make a sound argument, right?
They are, but do you deny that science cannot account for everything?
Yes, I do deny that science...
So what can't it account for?
Well, had you brought that up in the debate, I had a number of examples that I was going to give. I think there are a good number of things that cannot be scientifically proven, but that we're all rational to accept. Let me list 5. Logical and mathematical truths cannot be proven by science. Science presupposes logic and math, so that to try to prove them by science would be arguing in a circle. Metaphysical truths, like there are other minds other than my own, or that the external world is real, or that the past was not created 5 minutes ago with an appearance of age, are rational beliefs that cannot be scientifically proven. Ethical beliefs about statements of value are not accessible by the scientific method. You can't show by science whether the Nazi scientists in the camps did anything evil as opposed to the scientists in Western democracies. Aesthetic judgments, number 4, cannot be accessed by the scientific method because the beautiful, like the good, cannot be scientifically proven. And finally, most remarkably, would be science itself. Science cannot be justified by the scientific method. Science is permeated with unprovable assumptions. For example, in the special theory of relativity, the whole theory hinges on the assumption that the speed of light is constant in a one-way direction between any 2 points A and B. But that strictly cannot be proven. We simply have to assume that in order to hold to the theory.
But you're missing the whole...
So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So none of these beliefs can be scientifically proven, and yet they are accepted by all of us, and we're